My name is Reut Kassif, Dr. Reut Kassif, and I'm a pediatric intensive care specialist here at Safra Children's Hospital. We treat all kinds of children, trauma patients, surgical patients, infectious disease patients, patients with tumors, really all kinds of patients from all around the world. We treat patients from Gaza, from the West Bank, from Cyprus, from Russia, from really everywhere, Uzbekistan. And that's the beauty of our job. We treat patients from all ages, from where they are born until they're 18. And that's our daily job, really. And after October 7, two things happened. One thing was that we had to move down to the shelter, which is a dark, closed parking lot, which has become our unit for the time being. And very hard to work in. I mean, it's an open space within a parking lot. No, I mean, there is air conditioning, but it's not really like here when we have sunlight. And you don't know if it's day or light outside. You can't hear anything that is happening outside. Thankfully, were not exposed to the bombing because we couldn't hear anything down there. We didn't see people because nobody has come to us. And the patients really, I think on one hand they suffered because it's very hard conditions, but also they felt really safe and we could continue and give the best care even though that there is a war going on outside. So the physical aspects have changed. The other thing that has changed is that patients, a lot of our Gaza patients couldn't go back home, and we had a few patients that were hospitalized in our unit in the first days of the war, and their homes were getting bombed and they lost their families and they have nowhere to go to. So it was very hard on one hand to give them the best care because we are doctors and we're treating the child and not the environment or his religion or where he came from, but also be empathic and understand what they are going through. And at the same time, for us to go through all this really devastating, horrific times. So it was balancing of who we are as doctors, but also taking everything that is happening in the country and thinking about our soldiers and all the people that have died and still carry on and smile and perform and function as if nothing is happening back home. So I think the 80 days that we were down there in the shelter, we understood a lot of things, I think, when we were down there. As I said, a patient is a patient, a child is a child. And we had one child that just got discharged a few days ago. And his father came up to me and he said, you know what, it doesn't matter who I hate. We hate Hamas, you hate Hamas, it doesn't matter. Thank you so much for looking after my child. It's not the first time. I mean, 2 years ago, there was another round of missiles and war, mini war, but war. And that's our patients. I mean, about 30–40% of our patients are Palestinian patients. And we love them and we give them whatever we can to get them healthy. So we all live in coexistence. Our teams, our nursing teams and paramedical teams come from different religions, from different places in Israel. And we all work in coexistence. That's what's so beautiful about this place. So it was kind of like a continuity of that to the extreme. But it felt very natural to keep on doing what we're doing. Because you see the child that needs to stay alive. You don't see the whole, the whole drama behind it. And the families really appreciate what you do for them. Yeah, it was different because I think if you look at every Israeli in this timeline, something has changed. I mean, watching TV, knowing what is going on out there, knowing that we're totally exposed to our enemies, it broke all of us and each one of us in a different way. But I think we all changed since October 7th. It didn't change who I am as a doctor, and I will keep on doing whatever I'm doing, hopefully, for many more years, without any influences from the outside environment. But I think we all changed. I mean, I don't know if to call it depression, but a lot of sadness. I mean, I think in the first month or so, I was just traveling around the unit, just, crying from stories that people told me. We had a family that their house got burned in Otef. The Hamas burned their house and the child got burned. The parents were burned as well, very sick. And the family that were in there, I mean, the grandparents and everyone came to visit. It was very, very emotionally intense to hear their stories. We have many nurses and staff that are going to Gaza to fight, and they're coming back with their stories. You hear from people that look after all the soldiers in the emergency room. You hear the stories, you live it very vividly, even without actually being out there. So I think a lot of sadness, and you need to get all the empathy that you can in order to give to your patients, but when you are broken inside, it's a bit difficult. This is not the place for anger, no. On the contrary, this is the place for hope, to live our coexistence, to see patients that are nearly dying and that you do good and that they go home and they're healthy. So a lot of hope, I think. Maybe even good hope that took us all together and made us go through this time together with friends. I mean, this is my second family, sometimes the first, We're holding each other. And fighting for patients makes you stronger. A lot of talking to each other, holding each other, caring for each other, and understanding that you have all the support that you need and nobody will let you fall. So this is amazing, and this is the real beauty of this place. I was there in COVID, when COVID started in 2020. We were the first teams to go down there. We built an intensive care unit for COVID patients. We faced death on a daily basis. I mean, it was 50-50. Either you stay alive or you don't. We didn't know anything. We were treating patients with a disease that nobody knew how to treat them, really. Every day the protocols have changed. Every day new things were emerging, I think it was the first time of being in a shelter, but in a very intense way, because you were all covered and we couldn't breathe, and you were afraid to get COVID as well, and we didn't know what's going to happen. We didn't know if the whole globe is going to just erase. We didn't know. So you live in fear, you live in no knowledge, you're treating something that nobody knows how to treat. So that was the first time. It's different because the patients are not the problem now. It's us as a society, me as a person, me as a mother, needing to face this new reality of, questions about existence. I mean, are we going to exist at all after this thing, and how? And my own personal security and the country, and, big questions. Not just survival of the patient that I'm looking after at the moment. I think it makes it easier to do what I'm doing because I'm constantly busy, I'm constantly thinking. I cannot fall, I need to hold myself and wake up in the morning and come here and not look at the TV or the news and get detached for a minute or 8 hours or as long as I need. So my head stays clear and I can keep on doing what I'm doing. So in a way, I think being here makes it, in a very weird way, even easier. Because so many people have nothing to wake up for in the morning. And so it's hard, but it's hard for everyone. So some of the head of the department was involved. The rest of the team were just doing intensive care. We were not a part of it. I don't know if to say unfortunately, because in a very human way, I would like to be a part of this amazing thing. But on the other hand, I think it might have been even too hard for me to face these children that have gone through horror, really. How do you manage that? How do you feel about that? So in a way, I'm happy that I was not a part of it, because I feel that my soul was so ruined at the point that I don't know if I had enough place to face another, I don't know how to call it, feeling, I don't know, storm. So I'm being thankful that nothing happened to me. I mean, supposedly nothing happened to me. Nothing happened to me, nothing happened to my family. I don't know anybody who got hostage. I don't know anybody who died. I mean, closely. Nothing happened to me, supposedly, but a lot has happened, as I said. The ground is just, you know, broke under our feet. When I'm thinking about it, very interestingly, it doesn't matter for me if the patient is from Ramallah or from Gaza or from the West Bank or from Jerusalem or from Tel Aviv. At the end of the day, I want the child to stay alive. And my fight is to keep him alive. I mean, I want this child to get healthy. I just look at the child. I mean, obviously the family is part of the treatment and they're very important and the communication is crucial, of course. But I think when you have this family from the little child that got burned, it was so emotional that you could not even enter the room without crying and hearing the stories. And sometimes it makes your judgment, I mean, it shouldn't, but we're just human beings, so obviously it does influence your judgment. I think we need to stay optimistic. I need to carry on working in coexistence with our colleagues, with the different people from different religions, from different backgrounds. I mean, it's not just an isolated war, it's the war of our existence here in Israel. And that's what Israel is like. Multicultural, multi-religious. So we had a child, very interesting. They showed it on the news. The army found in Gaza, in one of the houses of Hamas leaders, they found discharge letters of a patient that was here, hospitalized here in our unit. It's devastating to know that you were giving, I mean, sometimes we don't sleep for days, we hear all night, we're literally fighting over the patient's lives. And, you know, I'm losing hours with my children in order to be here, in order to look after a child and get him healthier, knowing that a month later he lives with Hamas murderers. It is devastating. Because if that's the place that I will go to, then Hamas won. I don't want them to win. I want to carry on doing what I'm doing and not letting this influence me and the way I'm being here. I mean, I guess we all have a cause here, and I don't want them to win. And if I surrender to that, it's all psychological war as well, isn't it? So we need to keep being stronger and hope.